Yeah, a lot of studios are actually shutting down. I'm not even joking. Like, you would think to yourself that with all the popularity of like anime, that for example, they're like in a way better situation nowadays, but apparently not, because over the past 3 years, studios have been shutting down just left and right. Now, I don't know if you guys remember or not, like, with this studio, this studio of the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, Ranking of Kings. Also, the remake of One Piece is going to be by Witty Studio, like Spy Family and stuff like that. Like, I remember a few years ago, they were in debt like in millions of dollars. And at the time, I thought to myself, wow, why is that a thing? Like, shouldn't they be making like a shit ton of money with all of these like popular titles? But apparently that's not the case. Like in this article basically says that according to a new study, 2025 has seen anime studios shut down or go bankrupt at an even higher pace than previous years. The number of Japanese anime production companies going bankrupt or closing down is expected to increase for the third consecutive year in 2025, according to a new report by Teikoku Databank. The forecast is based on what we've seen during the first 9 months of the year, with two anime studios filing for bankruptcy and six other suspending or dissolving business operations, bringing a total number of companies leaving the industry to eight. Teikoku Databank points out that the rate at which studios are closing down this year is on par with 2018, which saw a record high of such cases, 16 in total. Like 16 studios just bankrupt. Not only that, but when including small subcontractors and freelance animators working in anime production, the actual number of companies and professionals existing the industry is like much higher, because it's not like every animator that you see on projects is like they all live in Japan. For example, in One Piece's case, like a lot of animators that are currently working on One Piece anime are basically freelancers. And I would say that was an amazing choice by Toei. Like, for example, when they started Wano, they basically started to bring in more talent from like other countries. For example, Vincent Chancellor, which he is a legend. I'm not even joking. Like the amount of talent that exists outside of Japan. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of legendary animators in Japan. But there are also a shit ton of people that have so much talent in all around the world that just love, for example, to just work on some of their favorite anime like One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man. So I think like bringing in more freelancers is a good thing. But another point that this article actually says is that the bankruptcies and closure in the past few years have not been limited to studios doing secondary anime production work, but have also impacted so-called prime and gross contractors, studios capable of fully completing anime projects in-house just as heavily. Roughly half of the anime production companies that exited the market in the past 5 years were primary or growth studios like Ikachi Epilka, Cloud Hearts, and Studio 5. So you can say they weren't studios that were just like filler, you could say. They were basically studios that worked on main, you could say, how should I say this? Because there are times which, for example, when anime comes out, some of the episodes might be worked on by another studio, for example, which is not like, let's just say, on the same level as the main studio. But in these cases, these studios were not like filler studios. This comes despite the anime market reaching record high growth as of 2024. The main cause appears to be Japan's severe manpower shortage. Yes, the population problem is catching up to Japan, which has led to what Teikoku calls a profitless boom among production companies. With the increasing number of anime titles being made, studios have to face surging project orders that outpace their capacity. Like, you can see that, like, the amount of stuff that just have been pumping out, and I'm not saying just good stuff. Of course, the amount of good shows have also increased, but the amount of just filler nonsense has also been heavily increased. I'm not even joking. I swear, every single season, there are like 20 anime that I literally cannot tell the difference between all of them. It's like they pump out so much anime that they just say to myself, okay, one of them might land and be a hit. As a solution, some companies are forced to extend production periods and thus increase labor costs, which diminishes their profit margins. Others have resorted to outsourcing to overseas studios only to be faced with soaring costs caused by the yen's depreciation against the dollar. Like, yeah, yen's value has also decreased over the years. And as you can see, we have a live example of that with One Punch Man Season 3. Even though JC Staff is the studio of Season 3, a lot of their animators are basically from overseas. So it's not like JC Staff, like main team, is working on One Punch Man Season 3. And that is so baffling to me. Like, that is insane. With a title like One Punch Man. To make matters worse, industry professionals say that the practice of outsourcing animation for cheap from overseas studios and then having domestic staff fix the subpar quality work has caused skilled key animation directors to suffer from burnouts and resign, creating a kind of vicious cycle. I mean, like, it makes a lot of sense. Like, with the work culture that exists in Japan, I would say it is not a shocking news that they're actually getting pent up and burned out. Because not only they are like working, like for example 17 hours, sometimes even 18 hours a day animating, they get paid less than someone who works at a McDonald's. Like, this seriously needs to change. I'm not even joking. Like, if they don't change the way that they do things in the whole like animation and just anime industry over there in Japan, listen, China is taking over. Korea is taking over. Or for example, even some of the Western studios are making a lot of amazing shows. I would say like their main threat right now is China because, dude, the amount of like insane stuff that they're putting out is just mind-boggling to me. I can say this, that the only thing that Japan right now has a leg up over China is that in terms of story and, for example, let's just say characters and world building, Japanese authors, I can say, and I'm saying this most of the time, make better stories, I could say. Like, even let's just say if China, for example, develops better like animations, for now the story part can actually like carry the Japanese anime. But dude, it will be only a matter of time until they actually invest heavily in the story department as well over there in China. So Japan really needs to shake things up because that's way it looks scary for the future of anime as a whole. And I'm saying that in the perspective of Japan. Like, in terms of animation and the quality of stuff that we're getting, competition is always a good thing. That leads to better, for example, stories, better animations, overall better entertainment. But as I said, they really need to shake things up. Now, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And that's about it. Bye!